Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's fantasy football strategy show every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm currently here only with Kasey Vlad to the Bone Scheinbold.
How are you
Kasey,
today, Dan?
it's good to see you. You're not used to, you don't know what to do because
I
usually
know I
you
don't
introduce
have
Ross.
I'm here to talk to you, cowboy. I feel like
That's
I
right.
should do something.
Well, don't worry. Fear not.
He will join us soon.
Ross, the boss, will be here shortly. And we're going to discuss all the things about fantasy football this week. And that includes trades. We love to talk trades here. So we've been getting lots of questions. Ask your questions. You can get them answered. We will be happy to bring you the information. Kasey, well, let's talk about some of the headlines of this week, some of the biggest things that happen that shift the fantasy landscape.
Oh,
As we know.
I was going to say, to me, the biggest thing that happened this week, it didn't shift the fantasy landscape. It was the roughing the passer calls that happened in the Bucks game and also in the Chiefs game. They were insane.
Yeah, no, I heard somebody say soon we're just going to be playing touch football.
It might as well be flags at this point. Yeah, there was nothing that could have been done to prevent certainly the one call against David Carr. I mean, that was ridiculous. But I didn't see the Brady one live. I was watching the Chiefs game. It was crazy. But fantasy landscape, man, last week didn't feel like a great week for a lot of studs, and we still have injuries to some of the studs. But you know, it's really hard to find a running back. That's what I took away from.
Well, it's funny that we say it because, of course, Ross was hammering away at this message last week. The idea that running backs are not what they used to be. Now we know that. We also know that it's hard to find a running back because there's lots of committees. But it is starting to feel like a league that is just so driven by the quarterback and wide receiver that, it's one thing in Dynasty to say that. In Dynasty, we know that's what we want to see people grabbing because those are the long-term investments. But even in redraft leagues, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, look at the some of the running backs like Najee Harris. What was he, like RB 12 or 13? And he's terrible. You're looking at, Ezekiel Elliott is a shell of himself. Alvin Kamara not doing anything. These guys who are historically like first round picks are suddenly like not considered old, but they're not even producing in third or fourth round value.
Yeah, actually. So I want to ask you, and we talk about trades. Najee Harris, should we be trading for him? Should we be selling him? Should we be holding him? What are we doing? I'm not comfortable with the concept of holding him.
No, I'm not either, but I'm also not comfortable with the concept of buying him. I'd probably be in a sell mode only because their offensive line has been terrible. Their defense isn't playing well, so the game script doesn't really support a running back. And Najee, he's a great running back. I'm an Alabama guy, literally born on the campus at the University of Alabama. And he was awesome in college. One of the classiest, best running backs they've had, but he's a grinder. He's not one of those guys who can take a ball to the house. He's a 5, 6, 7 yard, maybe break off a 10 or 12 yard game once in a while. And he's not on an offense or on a team that can support that for fantasy purposes.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you sell him? Would you be a seller in Dynasty too at this point?
No, he's somebody I'm not. No, I would never sell anybody under the age of 25 who has good numbers to his name in Dynasty. I mean, I think you're going to have bad years. I mean, if 2 years ago, you would have sold Saquon Barkley and look what he's doing this year. I think he's leading all running backs in lines in yards from scrimmage. But again, you don't give up on a young one in Dynasty. But in a redraft league, I would definitely try to see what I could get for him.
Yep, makes sense. Another headline that as I see it, is Teddy Bridgewater going out with a concussion himself. So the Dolphins quarterback's not faring well with their
Skylar Thompson, isn't that who it is?
Yeah.
Well, now there's the whole controversy surrounding that. Apparently, some eye in the sky said he stumbled when he got up or wobbled, but there's no evidence. But because they called it, he's now in protocol. It takes at least 5 days to get out of protocol. So it's the fallout from the missteps with Tua.
Yeah, well, and you could certainly say these are the fallouts from just a long history with concussions and going undiagnosed in the NFL. I remember when Colt McCoy got put back in the game. I think the Browns did it, actually. No surprise there. The Browns made a misstep. I'm going to keep just ripping on the Browns because they deserve it.
How about Baker Mayfield's production this year? And now he's out 2 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. It's not looking good. All right. So we've got Just Bob is here with us. Just Bob, good to see you.
Hey, man. Go
Says, hello,
Yanks.
gentlemen. Oh, ow. It hurts. It hurts.
It does.
The
It does.
Guardians
But
down 1-0.
and Just Bob and I have good news. Today's game was delayed, which means it's now tomorrow, which means Shane Bieber can't pitch game 5. He won't have enough rest. So
God, the good news just keeps on coming. This is
does.
exactly what we were worried about here in Cleveland.
Yep.
I know we've gotten off topic from football, but it just, I'm sitting here with 2 Yankees fans.
I know. Isn't it
I'm a
great?
Guardians fan, and everything's going the Yankees' way so far. And by so far, I mean since the beginning of baseball. Albert Merriquin has joined us here as well. He says, hello, everyone. Albert, good to see you. Guys, if you have questions, hit us with it. And listen, we've been talking trades, but if people want to shift topics, this is a strategy show. We are happy to shift topics to all kinds of things. We have as our backup topic, waiver wire budget. It's real. Listen, and it's not easy to do. It's not easy to figure out. I'm constantly over and under bidding. Or here's what's the worst thing? To me, the worst thing is bidding like $1 under on a guy I really wanted.
My theory on the waiver wire, since we don't have any trade questions right now on the budget, is I'd rather overpay early because that's when the waiver wire is the deepest, right? You're going to get these people like who you didn't know would be starters who end up being like studs. Like James Robinson might have went undrafted in some leagues. Now I know he struggled. He hasn't gotten the majority of touches the last couple of weeks, but like you pay heavy for that up front because come week 9, 10, 11, 12, if you have 70% of your waiver wire budget, you're bidding on streamers. And that just, it seems like it was wasteful.
All right. Well, here's a comment that agrees with you. Albert Merriquin says,
oh, I'm a big fan. That's a great one, Albert.
He said, I spent all of my free agent budget on Ken Walker. That's a great one. I think, and we were just talking, Albert, about how hard it is to get your hands on a good running back. Well, with Rashad Penny out
for the year,
he's out for the year. He's not even coming back like in 4 weeks. Kenneth Walker has all the room in the world to run with that
and
job.
they used a high draft pick on him, so they weren't using him to be a committee backfield running back. I don't think Penny ever gets the job back. I think even if you're in dynasty leagues. Now, I drafted Walker 2nd overall in the dynasty league because, like I said, finding a running back who could play all 3 downs, who's young, is hard, and I'd rather pay up for that. So that was a great one. I would have used my whole budget if I could have gotten him that way too.
And I really do want to say, from a strategy perspective, Kasey, I agree with you. The longer you wait, the more your dollars are wasted. I've seen people at the end of the year with 100 out of 100, and they're just sitting there with it. I'm like, why did you not utilize that? That's one of your resources. You got to do it. Just Bob has a trade that came in, and it's impressive on his behalf. Here we go.
How is Geno on the waiver wire still? He's QB8 on the season.
That's really interesting. It shows it's ageism. That's what it is.
My God.
I don't know what it is. I'm regretting that I traded him in Dynasty, not because I want to hold him in Dynasty, but I could have gotten
his
more.
Value is higher.
Yeah. I did get 2 third-round picks, which in the long run is not too bad, but I probably could have gotten a 2nd-round pick out of somebody.
Yeah, you could have now.
In Superflex. So Just Bob says, yesterday morning I picked up Geno on waivers, and an hour later I flipped him for Swift. Kasey, your thoughts?
I mean, it depends if it's, I think Albert asked a question just below asking if it was a super flex. I think if it's a super flex, Geno Smith might have a little more, but Bob said it's not. I don't know who his other quarterback is, but I'm a Swift fan. Dan is a little more on the fence with Swift. That's notorious here, but I think it's a great trade. I would have to look at our chat from last week to see what his roster was, but DeAndre Swift is going to come back. This is their bye week. He's going to come back at full strength in next week. And he's a dynamic 3-down running back. As long as he stays healthy, it's a great trade. And you're selling high on Geno Smith because, let's be honest, this is a mid-30s quarterback without a really good track record of success. So that's the perfect sell high candidate.
And Just Bob says this is 10-team PPR. So it's really interesting.
Oh, 10-team. Then it makes sense that Geno Smith might still be on the waiver wire.
Might be, but it's what's really weird is that somebody would have had him on the waiver wire and then traded for him. Like he could have just picked him up, and instead he was like, "Oops, I'll let you pick him up and then trade him
and then give you a top 10 running back for him."
Listen, and just for the record, DeAndre Swift, very solid running back in general. I just didn't want him there. And by the way,
Dan
you
is
said
playing defense from draft day on this.
but I traded him, right? Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, for Nick Chubb.
No, Nick Chubb
was
was
that
the James Conner deal.
Oh, this was Jamar Chase?
This was the Jamar Chase deal. I packaged
You just want Ohio players.
I packaged DeAndre Swift with was it Deontay Johnson?
Deontay Johnson.
With Deontay Johnson and got Jamar Chase.
Yeah, that's a steal for you.
I think it is. All right. Just Bob has another comment coming in. I bought 2 lottery tickets, but didn't win.
I didn't win either. I tried, but nobody won. So it's even more on Saturday.
That's true. So you can't fault yourself. Now, I do have to introduce someone
who's
it's
almost
Ross
on
the
the
Boss.
camera.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross the Boss, and I'm
There
not
he
in
is.
camera.
There he is.
I'm sorry I'm late. Had technical difficulties, but a lot of stuff has happened in the fantasy football world since I've seen you guys.
That's right.
So
And
I can't wait to catch up.
Well, let's catch you up. We've talked about a number of things. Kasey, what are the main things we talked about? We talked about the Miami Dolphins and their concussions.
We talked about the concussions. We talked about the roughing the passer calls, which were atrocious.
Oh, that was like, Troy Aikman got in trouble for that. I mean, he said they should put dresses on because that's the way.
Take off their dresses, I think he
take
said.
off their dresses. And one guy complained.
That's an insult to dresses.
One guy complained on social media. One guy said, look, oh, that's not nice. One guy, and all of a sudden ESPN has to do an apology or wherever he said it. It's unbelievable to me, like how social media just takes over and people have to apologize because one person wants an apology. It's unbelievable.
Forced apologies. By the way, do you see the comment? Ross, this was just for you. Just Bob says, hey, Ross.
Congratulations, Yankee fan. You guys won your first playoff game. Not surprised, but the mustache goes today. It should be a good game. We'll see what happens.
Nah, it was already postponed until tomorrow.
It's already postponed. How about that? I'm following football. I've been football nonstop. I haven't even keep track of.
That's what happens. Well, we were just getting to the fact. So Just Bob picked up Geno Smith in a 10-team PPR league, traded him straight up for DeAndre Swift, and you know what DeAndre Swift does to me.
Yep. Well, who's his quarterback now?
That's a good question. Just Bob, who's your quarterback now?
Because if he has Stafford or if he has one of those,
I'm betting he has Herbert or
even Herbert's not having a good year.
Yeah, but who do you want the rest of the year?
It's there's only 4 quarterbacks that are going to win you a title in fantasy.
Who are they? Let's hear them. Let's
go, Kasey. Kasey and I'll do it together. We love Kasey. We love.
Who do you want to start with? Yeah, Josh Allen.
We got Allen and Mahomes, correct?
Lamar Jackson.
We got Hurts and Lamar Jackson.
Hurts.
Yeah.
So Herbert is not one of. I understand those 4 are ahead of him, but
I was right though. Look who he has as his quarterback.
You were right. It's Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Of course, you may just remember it from remembering.
I mean, I love Justin Herbert, but without Allen there, I mean, Allen is like he hasn't played since opening day. I mean, let's be honest. He hasn't got a pass, since.
Yeah, but he has a pass. He has a good tight end, a pass catching.
Who's his tight end?
Back in Eckler. He's got
Everett.
Yeah, he's got Gerald Everett. Sorry.
Okay, let's right there with the tight ends. Unless you have a top tier,
he has Mike Williams, he has Palmer. He's got
Andrews or Kelsey at tight end.
I mean, my feeling at this point in the league, it feels like get an elite quarterback and get the best wide receivers you can, and just figure out running back and tight end.
There you're thinking. Yes, I agree with you, Doctor.
And then we talked about how to use your waiver wire budget, Ross.
We were just beginning to talk about that, so we can get deep into that topic.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you guys want to go. And if anybody has questions about trades, about your team, how to improve your team, dynasty questions, anything dealing with fantasy football, we're here for you. Even fantasy hockey. I mean, Dan Vatner's a genius.
Ross, what are your thoughts on the fantasy value of tonight's football game?
Oh, I guess the anticipation of the Bears and I'm not going to say it, Commanders. I'm not going to say the R word.
I think the NFL gods knew that Amazon that selling the
all
rights
these
to
Amazon
a night
games. First of all, the coverage
to a streaming service, they put all the bad games on it. I mean, it was like, what was it? Cleveland, Pittsburgh. It was Indianapolis, Denver. Now it's Chicago, Washington.
What like $20 billion for 20 years or something crazy? I mean, some crazy contract. I mean, I love Al Michaels, but these games on Thursday night are just bad. It's supposed to be cold in Chicago, cold weather, heavy jacket weather. You know what I'm talking about, Chicago fans, heavy jacket weather. And it's going to be a cold one. I think Justin Fields is going to be a good game. I think Montgomery will do a good job. But Washington, Carson Wentz is hurt. They won't tell you what shoulder. It's one of his shoulders. We're not quite sure which one, but we got to guess. I don't know. They're not giving us the full report. But
either the left or the right.
They won't say. But I'm expecting another snooze fest, boring game, low score. Maybe it'll be close at the end. I don't know, but I'm not expecting anything great tonight.
I feel like somehow the Broncos are going to lose on every Thursday game.
The Broncos play Monday night. That's
even worse.
Okay, we have a question coming in from Andrew Lloyd, and I like the Kermit icon. Well done.
Of course.
Devontae Adams.
Do the Kermit impression for Andrew, please.
What does Kermit say? Give me a line.
Do the Rainbow song.
Yeah, that's right. This is Kermit the Frog speaking. It's not too bad, is it? Okay.
Nope.
Devontae Adams and Mixon for Breece Hall and Jamar Chase.
I'd rather have Breece Hall and Jamar Chase.
I would too, but I wonder, is he saying, am I going to deal Adams and Mixon for Breece Hall and Jamar Chase, which is how I was reading the trade. Andrew, let us know if that is incorrect. I'm on the side of anything that has Jamar Chase in it, I'm on the side for. But I will say Devontae Adams, he's done pretty well away from Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers has not done pretty well away from Devontae Adams.
But he's going to get suspended, isn't he?
He'll get suspended. The guy, if you know the story,
he has Adams and Mixon.
Yep, follow up.
Yeah, he's walking off the field, very frustrated. Devontae Adams, he lost the game. A camera guy was carrying equipment. He pushed him. The guy went flying. He supposedly went to the ER. It didn't. I mean, I've been pushed harder and I never get hurt, but maybe I don't know. But it's all about a lawsuit. This guy hired a lawyer and everything else. But I believe he's going to be suspended. He should be suspended, but we'll see what happens.
I think, to be honest, even if they weren't suspended, if he wasn't going to be suspended, I'd still make that trade if I was Andrew. I think Breece Hall he's figuring it out. He's a dynamic runner. I think he's better than Joe Mixon. And Jamar Chase is Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase is one of the most electric connections in football. So
yeah, as you know, 2 Bengals are involved in the trade, which I love, but I would be in the side of Chase. Yes.
All right. So we're all on the same side here. By the way, if you guys want to contribute to our channel, or if you want to have your comment in the chat all the way at the top, you can make a super chat donation to us. There are buttons you can push at the bottom of the chat screen, and the super chat will keep your comment right at the top. So if we're running through lots of comments, which can happen a lot, you can get yours right at the top, and it just stays there.
I'm getting something from our producer Greg is just telling me that Connors, the running back for Arizona, is not playing Sunday against Seattle.
So use your waiver budget on Eno Benjamin.
Eno Benjamin's the man.
So there's a good example. Eno Benjamin, Arizona State alumni. Arizona State.
My God, how many people go to this school?
Ross the boss generates a lot of money.
How many students are there?
When I was there or now?
4,378,000.
So now on campus, there's like probably 65, 70,000 kids.
Okay, that's a lot. Now it explains why everybody went there. Okay, here's a little commentary from Just Bob.
But when I was there, it was like 30,000.
Okay, Just Bob says, what are the players supposed to do? They have to protect themselves. What if it wasn't a camera? Which actually reminds me, do you remember when the fan ran on the field and the Rams player
tackled him? Yeah,
tackled him.
I love that.
And he said, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you have.
That's another lawsuit too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's suing the team.
He's another guy, another idiot that hopefully they throw it out of court. I mean, he's just an idiot. And that linebacker, what's his name? He's the all-pro linebacker that made the tackles.
Yeah, I forget which one it was.
But long story, but he was a great tackle. He saved the day. And yeah, the guy should be arrested and prosecuted and thrown in jail. Throw his ass in jail.
I'm this is a little bit of just editorializing here, but I'm so sick of lawsuits being the news here. I'm just tired of it. I want to talk about football. I want to talk about who plays well.
I agree.
Actually, Kasey brought up something that I just wanted to talk about. He brought up Baker Mayfield. I want to hear what your thoughts are, Ross, on Baker Mayfield.
You know, I love Heisman Trophy winner. I love Baker Mayfield. I love his personality.
He did not go to Arizona State, Dan.
No, he did not. Baker he may have played against them once.
Baker.
I don't think so.
But again, with Baker, I feel bad. I don't know if it's the coaching. The coaches are blaming him. They're pointing the finger at him. I think it's a good thing he's not playing this week. Walker's getting the start in Carolina. They're actually playing the Rams in Los Angeles this week, so it's going to be a very hard game for Carolina, especially with McCaffrey not being McCaffrey this year. I mean, he's if he can.
When was the last time McCaffrey was McCaffrey?
3 years ago when he had that breakout season.
He's just, I mean, he's
back when Kamara was Kamara.
But with Baker, I mean, I have him in a couple of my super flex leagues, and he's bad. I mean,
I think his career is over. Honestly, I think.
Do you remember? I hope I'm wrong too. But do you remember I said he's going to play 10 more football games?
Yeah,
I believe he's played like 4.
But I think Baker, when he's healthy, he'll come back. I just think Carolina's a bad team.
I'm rooting for Baker, but I think that the Browns may have derailed his career with their skill set, or maybe he just doesn't have what it takes. It's possible. I'm a fan of him overall. We got another trade coming in here. Hudbolt 12 says, got Lamar Jackson, running backs, Cook, Henry, Dillon, Rashad White, B-Rob, tight ends, Hill. I assume that's Taysom Hill.
There's only Hill that plays tight end, but keep going. Yeah.
Schultz, and we got to talk about what he did.
Schultz, I would waive, but keep going.
Wide receivers, Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. I can trade Henry for Chase and Higbee. Full PPR. Concerned too light on running backs.
Okay, so yes, go get Chase. If you have Chase, that'd be I mean, your receivers, Diggs, Davis, Samuel, and Chase. I mean, I guess you have a flex guy.
I don't think you're too light on running backs, and Henry, especially in a full point PPR, he loses value because he never catches the ball. So he has to get it through touchdowns and yards, and he's not running through people the way he was last year. I think with Cook, you got I think Dillon is great, AJ Dillon, and he gets plenty of carries in Green Bay. And Brian Robinson coming back this week is going to be sneaky. I know. I mean,
they announced it
because Antonio Gibson does not have a strong hold on carries there. So I don't think you're too heavy. And I worry with Diggs and Gabriel Davis being on the same team. Do you want that to be your 1 and 2? If you could have like Jamar Chase as your 1 and Diggs and Davis as 1A and 1B, or
that's insane.
That's crazy. I would do it in a heartbeat.
This week you want Diggs and Davis. They play Kansas City. Remember the playoffs last year, Case? We watched it together.
Yep.
And remember, we had a great time. You did shots.
Gabe Davis had 4 touchdowns. But
Diggs had Gabriel Davis breakout game. It was unbelievable. But it was a shootout. It's gonna be a shootout.
But didn't Diggs have Diggs didn't have much, did he?
Doesn't matter. This year it's gonna be a shootout again. You start Diggs, you start Davis, and you'll have tons of points. And Lamar Jackson's playing your Giants this week. That should be a great field day for Lamar Jackson. I know the Giants are good. People are saying they're good. I get it, but I think Lamar is going to really shine against the Giants this week.
Well, and from a strategy perspective, when you're thinking about trades, we've talked about how you got to go against the grain, but you especially have to go against the grain when the grain is ridiculous. I mean, the worry about running backs is still like it was like 10 years ago when running backs were the star players, and they just aren't anymore. They're not utilized that way anymore. No. On top of getting injured all the time, or not performing that well. It's a quarterback and wide receiver league at this point. Go get Chase. I'm all for it. Okay,
we have top 20 fantasy players, Chubbs, and he's the only running back. That's top 20. Yeah. Hey guys, should I flex ETN? No. Isaiah McKenzie or Adam Thielen, who I like a lot.
This is from, I'm going to try to pronounce this name. Moao Ones.
O'Malley Cox.
So he says, hey guys, should I flex Etienne, Isaiah McKenzie, or Adam Thielen? And Just Bob has an answer to this already. I love when the crowd is responding. So
this week alone, I would flex Isaiah McKenzie because of the matchup in that game, and he's going to have a huge game against Kansas City. It's going to be a shootout. Trust me, it's going to be a 80-point game total. I would start McKenzie just because of the matchup. That's me.
I have a different take, but Kasey, what do you think?
I have a different take too. I like ETN. I agree with Just Bob. ETN has been taking the last 2 weeks his share of the backfield responsibilities. He's out-touched James Robinson in both games. He's finally kind of like working into the offense. He's a pass catching back. He's going to get 18 touches. Isaiah McKenzie, you're hoping for 4 or 5 receptions, and maybe he finds the end zone when they also have, as we just talked about, Diggs and Gabe Davis and, Devin Singletary and James Cook and all of these
Even
other
Dawson
options.
Knox could be somebody.
Even
who's gonna
Dawson.
take things
I
away.
agree with Ross that the Buffalo Kansas City game could be a shootout just like it was last year. But
I also think McKenzie's a pretty good fill-in. But if I had Etienne, I'd probably start him over.
Yeah, I think McKenzie might have the higher ceiling. So if you want to do it lottery ticket style, McKenzie,
that's a good point,
has a higher ceiling. But I think
you got to remember
Etienne's floor is much more predictable, that he'll get you 12 to 14 points and could get you a bunch more.
There's two coaches in the NFL that I don't trust with the running game. There's two. One of them that coaches Jacksonville. One of them coaches Peterson is horrible with running backs. Horrible. I have a rule. I don't start any running backs that he coaches. With the Eagles, he was horrible. It destroyed me.
Well, he had Miles Sanders.
He's having a good. Miles Sanders is a top 10 running back right now. Kasey Scheifel.
I understand that. And if I had him, I would sell him in a heartbeat.
I'm top 10, and they're 5-0. And the other one is Belichick, just because he likes to play games with the running game. But this time, there's another thing. Harris is hurt. Harris is out for 3 weeks. So Stevenson his value is up here now. Obviously, you got to start him. If you have Stevenson, you start him. Don't even think about it. To start him, if he's on your bench, you're an idiot. But
I mean, the
thing about Jacksonville, I don't trust at all their coach with the running game at all.
The only time you start a New England running back is in these kinds of situations. With Harris out and
Ramondre Stevenson's a top 5 running back this weekend.
Ooh, you heard it first from Kasey Scheinfeld. Top 5.
Now, Kasey, I have to show this comment. It's
a
Just
Yankee
Bob
brain.
says, "I like your brain, Kasey."
Well,
and yeah, do you guys have a Maryland connection also? Do I remember that correctly? There's somebody who's watching our show who has both. Is that
I don't know.
Bob?
I don't think that was just Bob. You're not a Terp, are you, Bob?
No, I think that was somebody else. Anyway,
this guy barely went to college. You think he went to the University of Maryland? There was no way.
Did you just insult Just Bob?
I was going to say, now he's mad because he's not only complimenting Ross anymore. Ross is the jealous, jaded.
All right,
very jealous here, Bob. Very jealous.
Just Bob says
Kasey has a brain.
He's not a Terp. Not a Terp.
Okay.
All right, Ross, who are some people that you'd want to be trading for right now, whose value is either too low? I mean, there's interesting things like we just talked about the Saints game. Kamara had a great game. Do you now just turn around and deal him?
The Saints, I think Kamara's going to have a huge game this week against my Bengals. I think the Bengals defense is on the way down. I mean, I don't think they can stop the run right now. I think the Saints are going to just run it down their throat on Sunday, especially with their ex-quarterback playing at home, the Red Rocket, going against the Bengals. He's played them before. It's not.
Is Jameis Winston not playing? I thought Winston was practicing this week.
I mean, do you trust Jameis Winston? Do you trust Michael Thomas playing? If Winston doesn't play, Michael Thomas doesn't play. That's the rule. So I don't see Winston playing. I could, he broke his 4 bones in his back, I read, or something a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago, but I thought he was back to practice.
I guess, but
are you looking it up, Dan?
I'm looking it up. Keep going.
What's it up?
He got a limited practice in.
Oh, Just Bob went to UConn. He's a Husky.
So
he and I share Randy Edsel as really bad college football coaches.
So. You sure do. But
horrible football coaches.
But so, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I don't know if he's playing this week. I have no idea. It's up in the air still if he's going to hit the field. I don't know. But his value has diminished. And remember last year what he did? The last third of the season, he just tore it up. He unbelievable. So I think people who got drafted him first are kind of down on him. I would say a lot of people are kind of pissed off. So I think right now he's a great target to go after. You're asking me who I would target, and I've been targeting Jonathan Taylor just because I think some of these owners are going to press accept a lot quicker now because this guy's not even playing right now. He's not even playing. I mean,
speak of the devil, Andrew just asked thoughts on what I should do with Jonathan Taylor. Anyone I should target in a trade with him or keep holding. So one thing I'll say, Andrew, is some of it's going to depend on context. How many teams are in your league? Is it super flex? And what other
running backs do you have?
Right. Are you dealing from strength? Do you have a lot of running backs or not? But I can certainly understand potentially trading him. Just know if you're getting way below his value, I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's the time to
This is
trade.
who I target. Listen, Andrew, you want some target list? I'll give him a list. I would try to get Chase, Mike Evans. I would even go after. I would even try to get Jefferson. I would get a top
Definitely.
tier.
Why not? Why
A
not?
top tier receiver, maybe a package deal. You know, what I like a lot this year. That's getting the ball a lot, and he was drafted very low, and he's kind of moving up in the ratings every week. He goes up and up and up. Is DK Metcalf? DK Metcalf.
Well,
This
especially
week-
with Geno Smith playing so well.
This week he has a great matchup against Arizona. If you play daily fantasy, make sure you get Dino Metcalf in your lineup. Make sure you pick him up because he'll have a touchdown over 100 yards. I guarantee that for sure. But I mean, he's having a good season. Geno Smith is his favorite receiver, and Geno, they've been letting this guy wing the ball. They're letting this guy throw. So
Yeah, like if you're going to trade somebody like Jonathan Taylor, who was in non-super flex leagues the unanimous number one pick, I think, in fantasy drafts, you have to get at least two number
tier.
one at their position players back. It would be like you'd have to get a Travis Kelce or a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase, something like that. If you could get a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson, that would be another route I would go.
But Kelsey's value is up here right now. You if you trade for Kelsey, you're going to get ripped off.
All right, but look at it. Go ahead, Kasey. Go ahead.
You're not going to get ripped. Even if he comes down a little bit, even if he regresses back to his mean, he's the number one tight end.
He's still great to have. But would you trade Jonathan Taylor straight up for him? I guess it depends on the league, but
no. But I would consider it if I had. He has Mixon.
Look at his running.
Andre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, James Conner.
Yeah, I would trade JT this week if he could.
Oh, this is interesting though. Look at the context. It's an 8-man league. So
and he's 1-4 with no PP, and it's not a
okay.
PPR.
But see, this shows you how context is so important. You look at those running backs, and you're thinking even a 10-team league, and it looks completely ridiculous.
Okay,
in an 8-team league, not so much.
8-team league, this isn't brain science. Yes, I would trade JT and try to get top tier receiver. Yes.
Yeah, it's not PPR. So I liked your draft strategy of going heavy with running backs because it's not a PPR league. But the NFL is a pass happy league, so I think you got to turn JT into. I would look for 2 stud pass catchers or a stud quarterback.
Or
right.
If you Jefferson.
Yeah, but if you can get, let's say you have two holes in your roster and you need a wide receiver 1, or you can make your wide receiver 2 another wide receiver 1. I think you do that. But also if you need a quarterback upgrade, there's some quarterbacks that are really struggling. In an 8-team league, it's going to be interesting because everybody's going to have a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
But there are advantages.
You know what I would do in that league with my quarterback? I would stream it every week.
Could.
Unless I had one of those top 4 guys we talked about.
Well, of course, we don't know how deep the benches are. People might, have all these players rostered. It's hard to say, but I totally agree with you guys. I think deal Jonathan Taylor, but make sure you're getting full value for him.
Yeah.
Make sure you get a top wide receiver for him at the very least.
8-man league makes it tough though.
It does,
because everybody has really good players at every.
You know what
position.
else makes it tough? Just from a strategy perspective, in an 8-team league, you only have 7 teams you can deal with. You can't trade with yourself.
He has Mahomes, so you're not really going to trade for a quarterback.
Okay, don't worry about
your wide receivers are thin, man.
Yeah, so go after. Okay, so here let's list this.
Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk, Devontae Adams, Drake London, Chris Olave, and Jacoby Myers. Like
I wouldn't
Devontae
say that
Adams
it's
is
thin. I would say it's too spread out.
I think it's thin in an 8-man league. I really do.
I do.
Well, I think it is, but not because he doesn't have talent, but because he needs to bunch up that talent.
But if you look at his team, he's got the underperforming Kyler Murray throwing to one of his receivers. He's got Trevor Lawrence, the inconsistent, throwing to another one. He's got Marcus Mariota and Bailey Zapp right now throwing to his other receivers. And then down King Dalton.
I agree with you. All I'm saying is it's not like he doesn't have talent on his roster.
No, he
so
does.
If you pair these players, let's say you pair one of them with Mixon or something like that, you could get a significant upgrade. And then
I get it. I get it, but he does not have a top tier receiver.
Devontae Adams.
I agree with you. He should go get the top tier receiver.
Second tier, Kasey.
No, absolutely.
He's second tier. I love Devontae. I think he's awesome, but not this year.
I think he's 1A.
Yeah.
There's no such.
All right, we've got a question coming in from Brock Goose. He says, "Sup, fellas? Good to see you here, Brock. Trade my Breece Hall for AJ Brown."
No.
Hold on. Let's hear who he has. I got Mixon, Saquon, Ramondre, and my receivers are lacking. Full PPR. I say
agree.
yes.
I agree with your idea to trade Breece Hall for a really good wide receiver. I just don't think it's AJ Brown.
I think you can go higher, but
I
you never
think
know what you can get.
I think if you look at the Eagles' offense,
There you go.
I think Jalen Hurts is one of. I mean, he's a great fantasy quarterback. I'm heavily invested in him in most of my leagues, and I'm doing well with him. But he's not finding his wide receivers with any consistency or regularity. Most of his fantasy value comes because he's also the goal line back, right? And so AJ Brown is a great wide receiver, super talented. You're going to get 2 or 3 good weeks out of him for the rest of the season, and I fear the rest will be pedestrian at best. And so I would, if I'm trading Breece Hall, like, I mean, come on, I would try to get a better receiver than AJ Brown, a receiver in a better situation.
But he's got the right idea. I think
absolutely. I mean, Tyreek Hill's owner might be down on Tyreek because of the quarterback situation in Miami. I would trade Breece Hall for him in a heartbeat because I think as the season progresses and get to the playoffs, you'll have Tyreek Hill. Like those are the ways I would look at trading somebody like Breece Hall.
Ross, anything to add?
I would try to, yes, I would. With Breece Hall, I would try to get a Waddle. I would try to get a Mike Williams. I would try to get somebody else. AJ Brown is just not consistent enough for me to trade for right now. He's not getting the ball like he should. His targets are way low. Devontae Smith is getting a lot of targets right now in Philadelphia. And as we know, Hurts loves to run the ball himself and score. He does that a lot. I think he leads.
Let me ask a question, guys.
I think he leads the league, or he's like tied for the lead for most touchdowns rushed or something.
So, but let's say Brock goes out and tries to get a better receiver, but he just can't get it done because everybody's saying no. Would you deal instead, if you could deal like Ramondre for AJ Brown? Would you do that?
I would do Ramondre or Mixon for AJ Brown before I would do Breece Hall for AJ Brown.
I don't think I would do Mixon, but Ramondre I would do because he's going to have 3 great weeks here. And he could be a monster. We'll see.
But he has 100 yards almost every week. He's
but yeah, okay. But I think that's more equal value to me.
Or he lists who his wide receivers are lower. My fear with his running backs is Saquon Barkley is averaging like 30 or 32 touches per game right now. And I'm a Giants fan, and I live an hour from Penn State, so I know Saquon very well. I'm a huge fan, but that workload for somebody who's missed a majority of the last 2 or 3 seasons because of injury gives me some pause. So I might hold on to my running backs.
But boy, has he proven me wrong in terms of his ability to stay healthy. Boy, that's impressive.
You know what I would do to try to win this league? I would trade Barkley just because what you said, and try to get a top tier receiver. I would
try to get Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson for Barkley.
I mean, because Barkley's, you're not going to get right now is the time to trade him.
You know what? You might even be able to get one of those top tier receivers and something else thrown in at this point. It depends on the league.
I would trade Barkley.
Probably not in full PPR.
Justin Jefferson or a Chase or a Coop, one of those top 3 guys like we mentioned, and that's what I would do.
All right, we got a question coming in from Cameron B. Cameron B says, "Hey guys, who do you think is a better option for a backup wide receiver for the rest of the season? KJ Osborne or Jahan Dotson? Jahan Dotson for sure for me. 16.
It's a 16-team league. That's huge.
Okay, Kasey, I'll let you answer this because
16-team full PPR. Kasey, you go ahead and have it first.
You go because Penn State's an hour away from your house. You can answer this.
That's right. And I'm a huge Jahan Dotson fan. So
there is a little bit of a follow-up here before you get into it. I've been hanging on to Osborne in case Thielen misses any time. Current wide receivers are A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Ayuk, KJ Osborne, and Jamison Williams. Pretty good.
Yeah, and I like that Williams will be back.
And in a 16-team league.
16-team league. That's pretty awesome. I would go with Dotson only because I don't think – I mean, you're holding on to somebody in the hopes of an injury, whereas Dotson, when
he
healthy,
just has value on his own.
He's going to have value even if scary Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel are healthy and playing. And Logan Thomas is hurt right now.
Yep.
And Carson Wentz likes to throw the ball a lot. So – I would prefer Dotson in that case.
I'd always rather go for the player who can just produce on his own and isn't waiting for somebody else to get injured, even though injuries certainly do happen.
And Dotson's played in 4 games and he has 4 touchdowns. Enough said. Keep going.
All right, we've got Vision, I think is how this is pronounced. Is Terry worth stashing / trading for later on in the season? If so, what would you value him at? Let's see
Terry,
if there's a follow-up to this.
Are we talking about Terry McLaurin? Which Terry?
That's the question. I thought it was Terry McLaurin.
So I don't know if you guys watched the Commanders or Commodores, any way you want to say it, played last week. But McLaurin, I thought was going to be a huge day. I mean, I was all in with him in many leagues. But somebody else, this guy named Jamar Brown, what's his name? Jamari Brown got the ball. And McLaurin did not get the ball that much last week. They played tonight, but I don't trust Wentz throwing the ball to McLaurin that much. He's not being utilized at all.
Now, if we are not even talking about the right Terry, though, Vision, let us know.
I don't know any other Terry Bradshaw. What Terry we talking
I was
about?
assuming it was Terry McLaurin. All right,
yeah, and look, I would say
I don't trust Terry McLaurin at all.
I think if you're going to ever run with Terry McLaurin, tonight's the night to run with him, because the Chicago Bears pass defense is atrocious and Jahan Dotson's not playing. But I mean, McLaurin has produced before. So I would say I might not trade for him right now, but I would stash him if I had him.
Stash him. And so some of it depends on what.
I would value him as a flex right now. A low wide receiver
play
in
Washington right now. Curtis Samuel is who you start in that game if you're a Commodore fan.
Your love for Curtis Samuel is like my dislike for DeAndre Swift. Okay, we're going to bring
Samuel is, to Ross's defense, Curtis Samuel's a volume monster. Like
I'm not saying
it's double-digit targets every week.
I'm just saying the sheer amount of love is similar. Okay, we've got Surya Paulson says, "Hey guys, I traded Jacobs and Najee for Godwin, and then flipped Godwin for Pierce and MT." Who's
Michael
MT?
Thomas, I think.
Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in weeks. So you traded Jacobs, who had a huge game last week, unbelievable for the Raiders. Najee Harris, whose trade value is 0. For Godwin, which I don't know what his value is because he barely plays during the game, and when he does play, he doesn't do much. And flip Godwin for Pierce. I believe that's the running back for Houston, correct?
Yeah.
Not the Pierce. There's another.
I don't think it's Alec Pierce.
I don't.
Yeah, not Alec Pierce.
And then MT, who's Michael Thomas, who only plays, once in a blue moon. I would have kept Jacobs. That's what I would have done.
I mean, Jacobs and Najee, I think I know Najee's value is low right now, but it's not. I'm not sure it's that low.
Godwin to me is like
I'm a Godwin fan. Hey guys, we're talking about a lot of Penn Staters today, by the way.
Wide receiver 3.
But he's a wide receiver. He's coming back from an ACL.
I know.
I think each week he's going to get stronger. And if you're going to bet on anybody to rebound, is it not Tom Brady and the Bucs to start putting up numbers again? So I don't disagree with that. I don't think Najee's going to have any value the rest of the year.
I don't think either. Najee's value is this trade value.
And
0?
so essentially, you traded.
Does that mean people should be going after Jalen Warren, or just no running back on Pittsburgh?
You should stash.
I would not
Warren.
touch a running back on Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, I would stash Warren.
The defense can touch them though. As far
not
as
very, yeah, they touch them in the backfield most of the time.
Exactly.
So essentially, you traded you traded Jacobs for Dameon Pierce and Michael Thomas, and to me, that's not a terrible trade.
I think that's actually a good trade if you look at it that way.
Beginning of the season, it was saying like, "Oh, Jacobs is going to share carries. Jacobs is not going to start." Blah blah blah. You know what Jacobs has done since then? He's been tearing it up for the Raiders. If that means anything.
We have another Josh Jacobs trade to discuss. The Chosen Rose says, "I just traded Josh Jacobs and Zach Ertz for Travis Kelce."
Great deal. Congratulations.
I love that deal.
Well done.
I have Eckler, Chubb, and Pierce. Was this a good move? It was a good move, even if you didn't have
league or 6-team league. 6 teams or 4 teams in this league.
Oh my gosh! To get Eckler, Chubb, and Pierce. Yeah. Wow, good for you, man. Well done.
Congratulations. Good job.
That's
a good example of like taking advantage of Jacobs having a huge game on Monday night, a huge game.
This is a 10-team league, by the way.
And a huge game, tearing it up.
And by the way,
and he trades him, which is genius.
Las Vegas would have won that game if they kept handing it off to Jacobs in the second half. For some reason, they changed their game script for no discernible reason, tried passing the ball, which gave too much time which gave Mahomes the ball too many times. But that's not fantasy related.
By the way, this is a 10-team league. I don't know if you guys heard that. We're going to jump back to Brock Goose for a sec. He says, I got Herbert/Kelsey. My only hole is receiver, but it's a 2-flex league, so I can start 4 running backs. I may be able to get by with lower tier receivers, you think? I'm going to jump back to the comment. Here are his lower tier receivers. My receivers are DJ Moore, Mooney, Jacoby, Dobbs,
Saw that.
and D-Hop. Yep.
So D-Hop's coming back next week, right?
Yep, that'll be good. Mooney's a great receiver. He just has Josh Fields thrown it to him.
This, by the way, was the question of whether to trade Breece Hall for AJ Brown. So
right. No, I think DJ Moore, and sorry, we're piling on Baker Mayfield here, but I think DJ Moore value goes up, ironically, with PJ Walker as his quarterback.
I like PJ
That's how bad Baker Mayfield's
I like
been
PJ
playing,
Walker.
so.
Baker, did you hear that, Baker? All right, we've got a follow-up from Cameron B. He says, thanks, guys. Someone just dropped Dotson in my league, so hopefully I can snag him off wires. I think that's a great pickup. I like Dotson the rest of the year.
Especially a 16-man league, that's a great pickup.
It's
he
just
should
amazing.
Not be on the waivers. Yeah,
Well, here's the other thing. I mean, rookie wide receivers are where you can find a lot of value at this time of year because this is when they start to figure it out.
This takes us back to a strategy question. If you have somebody like Dotson on your roster and you can't use him, don't drop him. Trade him. You can find somebody who's willing to trade him.
Always capitalize on the value in some way.
Oh my gosh. You can't drop that.
But Just Bob says we have 6 people in here. Now we have 7. Please show support by hitting the thumbs up. Just Bob, thank you for showing your support and saying that. We appreciate it. Okay, Andrew says, people in my league are stubborn. What is the minimum you would get for JT for wide receivers? So that's part of what I was saying, and I believe this was the 18-team league that we were talking about.
16, I think. No, 8-team league, right?
Yeah, this is the 8-team league. And if you've got stubborn managers and then you just can't get anything, what's the minimum? So minimum, I don't know. Is Mike Williams that minimum? Is that too low?
No, probably the minimum I would probably
I'll tell you,
minimum would be Stephon Diggs, maybe Tyreek Hill. I wouldn't go much.
Diggs is leading the league in fantasy points. I would probably go down to Mike Evans if I had to.
I don't think I'd go to Mike Williams, but Mike Evans.
Evans is the low. I
still wouldn't like it though.
I would do Diggs in a second, Chase in a second, Coop in a second.
Andrew, one thing you could do is if they're being stubborn on straight up deals, you could try to get 2 players out of him for JT if you wanted. That way, maybe you get Mike Evans and some running back. That would be my way of going about it. But if they're being stubborn about that too, I certainly understand. Try not to make a deal out of frustration with the other managers, though. Make sure to capitalize on whatever value you have. Casey, where are we going to add?
No, I mean, I don't know what the other 8-team league just makes it so hard. I don't know who would have 2 wide receivers that they would want to part with for JT. Because, I mean,
well, it doesn't have to be 2 wide receivers though. It could.
Well, I know, but if I could get like Deebo Samuel and Mike Evans, or if I could get like those are the sorts of things.
Well, that to me is a no-brainer if you can get that. Okay,
I can get Peoples Jones and. I'm just kidding.
In an 8-team league, you can get Peoples Jones for sure because he's on the wire. Michael Alexander says, do I trade or hold Sanders, Dobbs, and Juju? Or maybe he's saying which one to hold. I don't know.
Okay, so
what do we think?
Is this like
Miles Sanders? I'm sure it's not
fight Dayton Mary.
Miles Sanders. I like the Philadelphia running game. I like Miles Sanders. I would probably hold him unless somebody offers you something for him, but I don't think it's a bad start. Dobbs. I don't like Romeo Dobbs. I would probably if you can get something for him, I would trade him. But if not, I would be on my cut list. And Juju's it's a mess in Kansas City with the receivers. I mean, Juju's the guy one week, and then it's
all spread.
Next.
I mean, the only guy that's consistent is Kasey. That's it. I mean,
Juju, I don't trust. Dobbs, I trust more than Ross, but. I mean, let's be honest. They just lost to the Giants, and I'm a Giants fan, and I can say that.
I mean, I like Lazard, probably my favorite guy there, just because he catches touchdowns.
Yeah, but he gets like 4 receptions for 32 yards.
We'll take a touchdown, one of those receptions. But
I agree that Miles Sanders is a trade or hold on to guy.
Yeah, I would not cut him. He's getting a lot of handoffs too. He's a top 10 running back right now.
Yeah, I totally
actually, if I could package all 3 for a really big upgrade, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I would too. That would be great. I think also remember though, it depends on the context of the league, But that being said, generally speaking, if you could turn those 3 into somebody great, it's always good to do a 2-for-1 or even a 3-for-1 deal if you're getting a really great top guy. All right, we've got another question coming in from Regier Productions. Should I start John Bates in fantasy or look to waivers? 10-man PPR.
Wow. You're 10-man PPR and the waiver wire is that thin on tight end?
Tight end is the only
John
thing
Bates.
Here.
He's Logan Thomas's backup.
I know who he is, but it's just like I don't know where you pulled that name out of. But no, I would not start John Bates.
Well,
Tell me,
yeah, tell us who else is available on the wire.
Rieger, tell me who else is on the waiver wire.
I mean, in answer to the question, look to waivers. I think we're all saying look to waivers on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I can name off probably 5 guys.
But
that are on
you know,
waiver wire
if you know something we don't, you know, let us know. He says tight end is really thin on the waivers right now.
The 10-man league, so you're getting tight end 11 and 12. I mean,
or maybe it's time for a trade to fill that need. Guys, we're going to finish up on a couple of comments here. Sean David says, should I trade Diggs and Dobbins for CD and Hall? 10-man PPR.
Ooh.
Hold on. Should I trade? So he has Diggs, right?
I would keep Diggs myself.
I would Diggs and Dobbins. I think
Diggs.
I'm a big Breece Hall fan, so I'm going to preface it with that. But I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be fine throughout the year, and I just think Diggs is so much better than CeeDee Lamb that it's not.
I mean, Diggs.
I agree. It's based on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Diggs
that's like undoing a 2-for-1 deal in some ways. I mean, you're giving the best one by far, and I would keep him.
And Diggs has the most points for any fantasy player right now that's not non-quarterback. So yes.
All right, we're going to finish up here. Vision says, I'm in a 12-team PPR.
12-team PPR, okay.
I have Kasey currently, and I was offered Andrews, Barkley, and Jameson Williams. Should I take? Oh, all for Kasey.
Yes, you should.
Should I take this? I think take it in a heartbeat.
Take it in a heartbeat, because Mandrews is not that far behind Kasey, first off. And even if you only get 3 weeks of Barkley or 4 weeks of Barkley before he breaks down, that's worth it. And Jameson Williams is kind of one of those lottery tickets who can take the top off of defense. And if he can get you,
it's true. But I mean, even if Jameson Williams isn't in this deal, I still take it.
Yeah, I would.
This is one of those ones where the 2-for-1 deal, I think he's not getting the best value, because Andrews is really not that far off from Kasey.
Right, and you're selling, like as Ross mentioned too earlier, you're selling Kasey at his highest point. And my response was, even when he regresses, he'll still be the number 1 tight end. But the gap between him and Mark Andrews is not Saquon Barkley depth.
Yeah. Now we're gonna finish this off in style, talking about backup tight ends on the wire. This shows you how deep we run. Okay, we've got a list here of some players here. I see Mo Alley Cox. I see Hunter Henry. I'd probably those are the two that I would.
I
take.
like Will Disley.
That's horrible. Bellinger. I mean, these are the tight ends that are so. Hunter Henry. God, I loved Hunter beginning of the year. He just hasn't done anything for me. I mean, Mo Alley Cox is. I know that's one of your favorite names to say, Dan, but I'm not going to let you say it.
Ross loves that joke.
Bellinger. Tell me about Bellinger, Case.
New York Giants, I like him. It's just the Giants' offense is Saquon Barkley, and now they have no wide receivers. And Bellinger is a reliable pass catcher. I actually like Will Disley in Seattle.
Too. Tell me
Disley. I was thinking
I would either take Will Disley or, Cole Kmet is hit or miss. It's the Chicago Bears.
Catch the ball. So Will Disley, I think he has 4 touchdowns, Case. Am I right?
3 touchdowns this year, but
3 touchdowns.
2 in the last 3 weeks. So
right. So Will Disley, the tight end for Seattle, he's playing really. He's getting the ball in the red zone. So I would start Will Disley over all those guys. I agree with you, Case.
All right. By the way, again, if you want to keep your comments at the top in this running list and just get it right to the top, you can always do super chat. There's a button at the bottom. You can press it. It supports the channel and our show, but it also gets your name at the top. There's also super stickers, which is just a way to support us in general. So we're going to finish up. Well, let's do speed round. We got a couple ones. We got to go fast though. Okay.
Fast.
We've got, okay. Jared Curbello says Kirk or Curtis Samuel at flex. We'll just say one name and not even comment on it. Kasey? Who?
Curtis Samuel.
Samuel.
I actually agree with that. Okay. Ernie DeRosa says, I have Hollywood Brown and Hopkins. Should I hold on to both of them or sell one? That's an interesting thing. Go ahead.
I would hold both, and then if I had to sell, I would sell Hopkins. I think Hollywood Brown is like Kyler Murray's best friend, so he's always going to look for him.
I agree. Ross?
Hold both and see who emerges as the top receiver.
Just Bob says Hopkins would get you more, which is an interesting take. Okay. Regier Production says John Bates did have 6+ points in the last 2 weeks in fantasy, 6 2 weeks ago, then 7 last week. He is starting. Any chance he gets 7 or more? See,
there's always a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I just he wasn't really on my radar.
You're talking about tight ends like 14 through 30. There's not a big difference, right?
Yeah,
unless you have one of the top 3 tight ends,
go with.
everyone can
I
be
would
good
say
the
in
next
that
week.
case, go with your gut
Go with
and
your
don't
gut.
and don't look back.
Very good.
Don't regret
I like
it.
go with your gut, and that's Thursday night game. There's
Especially
never a
because
lot
it's
of
a
offense.
Thursday night game. If you have Bates on the bench and he goes up big and he has a touchdown, you're going to sit there for the next 3 days waiting for Sunday, stewing about the fact that you didn't play Bates.
That's
All
true.
right, Cameron B. Who's the better QB backup for the rest of the season? Daniel Jones or Jared Goff? Jared Goff. I drafted Jones as my backup for the rushing upside, but haven't seen too much from him so far. 16-team full PPR. I think Jared Goff is really for real this year. I don't think that he is going to be, he's not going to change the world.
You got to look at the weapons. Jared Goff for the rest of the season is going to have St. Brown coming back healthy, DeAndre Swift a patch catching back, Hawkins Smith a good tight end, and then Jamison Williams is going to be coming in as another wide receiver for the rest of the season. Daniel Jones is playing on a bum ankle, so they're not going to run him as much as they can. They actually have Saquon Barkley right now doing the Wildcat formation around the end zone. So I'm a Giants fan again, but Daniel Jones is not Jared
Joe
Goff
Burrow
as
is his weekly starter. I say you go with Goff in the back. Okay, Chris Yarcia says, I'm 4-1. The Adams owner needs a tight end. I have Lamb, AJ Brown plus Pitts and Njoku.
Okay, Pitts has 0 value.
Should I trade Lamb or AJ plus selling high on Njoku for Adams?
Yes. AJ and Njoku for Adams. I would do.
I think that's a great trade.
I'm curious if that person will accept it, but yes, that's a good trade.
I think that is
not Lamb. I wouldn't trade Lamb, but I would trade AJ Brown.
I would trade Lamb too. I
would trade Lamb also. I think Lamb is actually overrated.
I do too, especially.
Well, I think once Dak comes back, his value might go up.
I think
it might, but I don't like
Kasey,
might.
You love Noah Brown. Kasey,
I do like Noah Brown.
Yeah,
and he made fun of him beginning of the season. Now Casey's on the bandwagon.
I'm going to get his jersey.
Razier Production says, mind me, my QB is Wentz because Dak and Bridgewater are hurt. Geno, who I got on waivers, got claimed, and Goff had less than 10 last week.
Play Geno.
Who I dropped.
Well, first
Geno's
of all,
your quarterback.
Well, first of all, Goff is not playing this week, so throw him out.
Right, you can't play him this week.
Okay, you can't play him. He's
you can play him, but you'll get 0 points.
Well, he's in Hawaii, so he's not around.
Yes.
Okay,
exactly.
okay. So he's not. But Geno, who I got on waivers, got claimed. Blah, 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 blah. So who's he asking? What's the question here?
Okay, so you know what? I have to go back
he has Carson, so that also I think that relates back to John Bates. He has the quarterback throwing to the tight end.
Oh,
but Geno got waiver.
Got waiver claimed. He got picked up by someone else, so he can't start.
So the only person you can start is Carson Wentz. You have no options, correct?
Yes,
it's looking that way. Yep, because Dak and Bridgewater are hurt.
Look, then I would play John Bates because if he gets a touchdown pass from Wentz, you doubled up.
Yeah, and that's really good to think about in terms of your team context. If you look at a team that you're playing, and let's say you're in a position where you already have seen some of the games and you need to make that decision, go for the big upside if you need it. So
and I stayed at Bates Motel before, so that's a sign right there.
There you go. All right, guys, it's been a great show. We're happy to be doing this for you guys. We'd love to answer these questions. Keep them coming. Put your comments below, by the way, because we don't just answer these live. If you put them on the comments, we'll get to them. Well, it looks like we got one more. This is, and I'm 1-4 record-wise. So, yeah, now's the time to make a big move. So go for it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Kasey, Ross the Boss, thank you for joining me here. We're going to be here as usual, Thursdays, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. By the way, if you're interested in fantasy basketball, we have our draft tonight. It's live. We're going to be doing it live.
Come watch me struggle.
It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And it's a salary cap draft, so you get to see us bid on players.
And tell everybody who won the league last year.
It was Ross the Boss. It was Ross the Boss, but that's okay because I've won hockey 2 years running, and I barely even know what I'm doing. And I do know what I'm doing, but I didn't know any hockey players before.
It was unbelievable.
Now I know the league. That's how you learn.
I love it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the shout out. Just Bob saying a great show.
We'll see you guys in a few hours.
Yep, and we will see you all next week at the same time. Keep those questions coming. We're happy to answer them. Thanks so much.
Joe Burrow.
Thank you.